Welcome to part 2 of my ultimate running guide, packed with non-stop advice, tips and secrets to make you a stronger, faster and smarter runner. In this video we'll bust some of the biggest running myths, break down the drills that improve your form, show you how to fuel and hydrate properly and share training lessons I learned chasing a sub 240 marathon at 50 years old. You'll also discover how to run better in the heat, manage your weight wisely and avoid the mistakes that hold most runners back. Whether you're training for your first 5k or chasing a marathon PB, this compilation has everything you need to take your running to the next level. And stick around because the most important lesson of all comes right towards the end.
Running isn't just about logging more miles. How you run matters too, and that's where running drills come in. These are simple exercises that train your body to run more efficiently. They strengthen the specific muscles and motions used in running, and they ingrain proper movement patterns into your muscle memory. By doing drills regularly, you can teach your brain and muscles to communicate better so that even when you're tired, your form holds up. What does this mean for you? Well, first, better running economy, which is a fancy way to say that you use less energy and oxygen to run at a given pace. Over time, an improvement in running economy can translate to free speed. Basically, you get faster without extra effort. Second, drills can help prevent injuries. They strengthen key running muscles and joints, making you more resilient. By improving your form and eliminating sloppy technique, you reduce unnecessary stress on your body. The payoff for dedicating a few minutes to drills a couple of times a week is greater speed with less injury risk. It's a win-win. You become faster and more durable too. Now let's go through 6 essential running drills and how to do them. It's best to do all of these drills after a 5 to 10 minute warm-up jog when your muscles are warm. Do each drill for roughly 15 to 30 seconds and stop if they're causing you any discomfort. You can perform all of these drills in a sequence and then repeat the sequence 2 or eventually 3 times. Aim to add these drills into your routine at least 1 or 2 times per week for the best results, but do start off carefully, particularly if you're new to doing this. This drill is exactly what it sounds like, walking on your heels with your toes up. It targets the muscles in your lower legs, especially your shins. By strengthening the tibialis anterior muscles in your shins, heel walks help improve your foot stability and can prevent shin splints, which is a common injury for runners. To do it, take small steps forward on your heels, keeping your forefoot off the ground. You'll feel it working along the front of your lower leg. Toe walking is the opposite of heel walking. Here you walk on your tiptoes. This drill strengthens your calves and all the tiny muscles in your feet. Strong calves and feet help you push off the ground harder and maintain stability as you run. To perform toe walks, rise up onto the balls of your feet, heels off the ground, and walk forward for about 10 or 20 meters. Keep your core steady and try not to wobble side to side. You should feel your calves working. High knees are a classic drill to get your legs moving fast and reinforce proper form. To do high knees, run in place or slowly move forward and drive your knees up to hip level, one after the other. Stay on the balls of your feet. This drill works your hip flexors and core, and it trains an explosive knee drive, which is key for speed. High knees also help improve your cadence or your leg turnover, and they even stretch your hamstrings dynamically. Butt kicks involve kicking your heels up towards your butt while jogging in place or moving forward slowly. This drill focuses on your hamstrings and glutes. It teaches you to pull your heel up quickly after push-off, which is part of an efficient running stride. When doing butt kicks, try to keep your upper body fairly upright and bring your heel directly up under your hips, not far behind you. You'll feel a stretch in your quads and hip flexors, and it improves their flexibility too. A-skips are a fun, dynamic drill that combines a skip with a high knee motion. Think of it like an exaggerated marching skip. As you skip forward, drive one knee up and onto your toes on the support leg, and then scuff the ground lightly with your foot as it comes down. That scuffing or pawing motion, pulling your foot backwards as it lands, is important. It teaches you to pull the ground beneath you, engaging your glutes and hamstrings for a powerful push-off. A-skips help reinforce proper running form by training a high knee and mid-foot landing. Fast feet drills are all about quick turnover and agility. To perform this drill, stand in place, or you can jog slowly forwards, and run with very short, very quick steps. Imagine you're running on hot coals. Your goal is to get your feet off the ground as fast as possible. Keep your feet underneath your body and stay on your forefoot with a slight forward lean. Your steps should be quick and light with minimal bouncing. Fast feet drills will activate the muscles in your lower legs and get your nervous system ready to fire fast. They're fantastic for improving your running cadence and teaching you to minimize ground contact time. The running drills in this video are the same ones we recommend to the 22,000 athletes we coach each year at MyProCoach. And if you want to level up your training, head to myprocoach.net or click the link in the description. Once you've mastered the basics and they start feeling easy, you can progress to more advanced versions of these drills. These will further challenge your coordination and strength and continue to improve your running form. Think of B skips as the next level of A skips. They start just like an A skip, high knee up while skipping, but add an extra leg extension out front before you bring the foot down. This drill adds a dynamic hamstring stretch and really emphasises a powerful backward sweep of the leg. This drill is a hybrid of the high knees and butt kicks you learned, combining them into one fluid motion. The idea is to lift your knees high in front and kick your heels up under your butt at the same time. This drill is more challenging, but it's excellent for bringing together the mechanics of high knees and butt kicks into a more advanced form drill. Ankling is an advanced foot drill that replaces the simple heel and toe walks with a bouncing reactive ankle motion. It involves very short, quick steps focusing on the ankle. Ankling teaches your legs to be springy and efficient during the contact phase of running. It strengthens the ankles and lower legs and helps you practice a quick push-off. Remember, consistency is key with these drills. Doing them once will not magically turn you into a faster runner overnight, but doing a few drills a couple of times each week can lead to big improvements over time. These exercises only take a few minutes, but they pay off by making your running feel smoother and easier in the long run. In December 2024, I crossed the finish line at the Valencia Marathon in 2:39:39, which is a new personal best. For 6 years before that, I'd been chasing a sub 2:40 marathon, but I kept coming up short. Over that time, I got marathon fit several times, but lots of my events were cancelled during the pandemic, and then I missed others due to illness or injury, so it was pretty frustrating. And at almost 50, I knew it wouldn't get any easier, but this time I finally succeeded with just 8 weeks of structured marathon training. In this video, I'll share exactly what I did to hit my goal and how it might help you in your training. Stick around because I'll also reveal some other key changes I made, including cross-training and a new approach to nutrition that I think made a really big difference. So I was feeling quite frustrated with my marathon training in the years leading up to that because I kept getting injured in the final weeks before race day or getting ill. And running every day seemed to be too much for my body to handle. So this year I decided to try something different. My wife suggested I include swimming and cycling in my marathon preparation, and she turned out to be right, so thanks to her. Before starting my marathon training for Valencia, I entered the IRONMAN 70.3 Weymouth Triathlon in England, and I followed one of my own 12-week IRONMAN 70.3 training plans. The triathlon's run portion is a half marathon, which is 13.1 miles, and my longest training run during that period was 90 minutes. And my weekly training at that time consisted of 3 to 4 runs a week, plus a couple of swims and bike rides. So after successfully completing the IRONMAN 70.3 triathlon, I took 2 weeks to recover from that with minimal training. And then once I felt rested, I started an 8-week marathon training program. And instead of running 6 days a week, which is what it said on the program, I stuck to 4 to 5 runs and added 1 or 2 swim or bike sessions each week. And this balanced approach kept me injury-free, which was good, and it helped me maintain my fitness for the marathon. In this section, I'll share the type of training I did. I won't go into every single workout because that would just make the video quite boring, but by highlighting 2 typical weeks from the program, hopefully you'll get a clear idea of what my training looked like. In the first few weeks of my 8-week training plan, it felt quite tough to increase my running so quickly. But with race day so close, I had to start doing long runs right away instead of easing into them gradually. If it weren't for the swim and bike days where I wasn't running, I probably would have ended up injured, to be honest. But having 2 or 3 days each week where I wasn't running at all made a huge difference. So here's a look at my training in week 2 of the 8-week program. So Monday was a rest day because the day before I'd done a long run. Tuesday morning I did a coached pool swim session, and Tuesday afternoon I ran 5 miles or 8k easy. Then Wednesday I ran 12 miles or 19 kilometers easy or steady, which is kind of like a medium long run. Then the next day, being Thursday, I did another coached pool swim session. And in the evening, I did 20 minutes of strength and conditioning, which was lunges, squats, deadlifts, calf raises, push-ups, and step-ups. Then Friday, I ran 9 miles or 14.5k with 4 times 1 mile efforts at lactate threshold. Then Saturday, I rode my indoor trainer using Zwift, and I did a 10-mile time trial at lactate threshold with some kind of easy stuff around that. And then Sunday was a 16-mile long run or 26 kilometers. And I included 6 lots of 1 mile at marathon race pace. And that session nearly killed me because it was right after we just landed in Mallorca for a family trip, and it was really hot as well, so I was tired and hot. But anyway, managed to do it. And then the last 2 weeks of my 8-week marathon plan focused on tapering. So instead of showing you those, I'll share week 6 with you of my program because that was one of the toughest weeks of it. So Monday was a 20-minute strength and conditioning session, a bit like the one I described before, but slightly tougher. Then Tuesday I ran 7 miles or 11k with 6 lots of 100-meter strides where I accelerate up to a fast pace over 100 meters. Wednesday I ran 8 miles or 13 kilometers with 4 lots of 1200 meters at 5k race pace, and I did that session with some friends, which really helped for motivation. Thursday I did a coached pool swim session again. Then Friday I ran 11 miles or 18 kilometers, fairly easy. And then Saturday I did a 50-minute indoor cycle. And then in the afternoon I ran 4 miles or 6.5 kilometers easy. And then Sunday was a 20-mile run where I practiced using my nutrition and ran in some of the stuff I knew I was going to run in on race day. So that gives you a good sense of what my typical training weeks look like. My longest runs peaked at about 20 miles or 32 kilometers, and some of my Sunday runs were shorter than that, but included sections at marathon race pace. Right, let's dive into some of the other key changes that I made that helped me break the 2:40 marathon barrier. Research shows that you should consume 50 to 90 grams of carbohydrates per hour during a marathon for optimal performance, and some people take on even more than that, up to 120 grams. For a 2:40 marathon runner like me, aiming for 80 grams per hour means consuming a total of 213 grams of carbohydrate during the whole race, and that equates to approximately 9 standard energy gels, which is a lot to stomach. Before that, I'd only ever managed about 5 gels in a marathon before feeling like I was going to get sick. And your ability to handle carbohydrate depends partly on your size, but research shows that you can also train your gut to tolerate higher amounts. So to prepare myself for this, I practiced taking in 80 grams of carbohydrate per hour during all my workouts that were longer than an hour. And I did that using a mix of energy gels and drinks. Over time, my body adapted to that and I felt better fueled, I recovered faster from all my workouts, and I wasn't as hungry all the time. Most importantly, I successfully consumed 80 grams of carbs per hour on the big day of the race itself, and I feel like that helped me maintain my energy and stay stronger towards the finish. So on race day itself, I carried 3 Morton 160 gels, which are pretty big gels, and 500 milliliters of Morton 320 drink in a soft flask in my back pocket. I took 2 gels in the first hour with water from the aid stations, and then I drank the soft flask in the second hour. And then after the second hour, I sipped the third gel over the final 40 minutes. And this strategy worked really well for me. In addition to fueling during the race, I made more of an effort to load up on carbohydrates in the 2 days beforehand to maximize my stored glycogen. After speaking with 2:27 marathon runner Ant Gritton in another video on this channel, I followed his advice to aim for around 800 grams of carbs on both the Friday and the Saturday before the race. Eating 800 grams of carbohydrate in a day is no easy task, let me tell you. So I had to reduce my protein intake during those days to make room. It felt like I was in an eating competition, but I did get close to the target by eating 3 carb-heavy meals during the day, such as pasta with tomato sauce. And then I was snacking on energy bars as well, and I used Power Bar Energize bars, but most kind of bars will work. If you try this yourself, I recommend testing it before a smaller event to ensure that it doesn't cause you any stomach upsets. Did it help? I don't know for certain, but I did feel strong and full of energy all the way to the finish, so I would definitely do it again. Running an evenly paced marathon can significantly boost your chances of a personal best, and I managed it more by luck than by judgment. At Valencia, I relied on my GPS watch for pacing, but its splits turned out to be inaccurate. I thought I was on track for a 2:37 marathon, but I was actually running at a pace that would give me a 2:41. I didn't realise this until I passed the halfway point and saw the time at the halfway marker. And at that moment, I knew I was behind schedule, and to make things worse, the fronts of my thighs were starting to get really sore as well. So despite the soreness, I knew I had to pick up the pace to break 2:40. It was incredibly tough, and my legs felt heavier with every mile, but I did manage to push through, and in the end, I ran a negative split, covering the second half of the race faster than the first. While this is a fantastic way to pace a marathon, in my case, it was just a happy accident. Having run the Valencia Marathon the year before in a slower time of 2:44, I knew that the weather could be relatively warm, especially for someone like me who's used to a colder December climate. So to prepare, I trained wearing extra layers of clothing during my easier runs and bike rides. I avoided doing it on the key workouts because I didn't want to overheat and affect the quality of the workout. But over time, I got more comfortable with training in more layers of clothing, and I felt better equipped to handle the heat on race day. So at the race itself, the temperature ranged from 15 to 20 degrees Celsius, which is 59 to 68 Fahrenheit. So that's not super hot, but it was quite uncomfortable for me. But my personal best time suggests that my preparation paid off and that my body coped much better this time. And I do remember feeling not as hot as I was the year before. So I'm really happy with my sub 2:40 time, but like most runners, I can't help but think how I might go faster next time. The most obvious improvement for me would be to follow a longer marathon plan, say 16 weeks instead of 8. Of course, that would only work if I avoided injury during the process, and you never really know, and maybe 8 weeks was the optimal amount of time to train for. Another key area to improve would be preparing my quads to handle the soreness that I felt in the second half of the race. This soreness is caused by repeated eccentric loading, where the muscles lengthen under strain. And to address this, I could include more downhill running in my training to get my quads used to the load. I could add strength and conditioning exercises that focus specifically on eccentric loading for the quads. And another thing I could do is run more on roads wearing the shoes that I wore on race day to better simulate race conditions. But that's quite tricky for me because I live in a national park and there aren't really any places to run on the roads. It's more kind of trails. So either way, I'm really pleased with the result, and these ideas give me plenty to think about for the future. For years, we've all been told that water is the key to staying hydrated, and while that's partly true, it's not the full picture. If you don't drink enough, you'll feel sluggish and your performance will suffer, but simply drinking more isn't always the answer. In endurance sports, it can actually be risky to drink too much. Today, we're diving into everything you need to know about hydration for running and triathlon. And later in the video, I'll share a common hydration mistake that even top athletes still get wrong. Water and electrolytes are essential for endurance sports because they help regulate temperature, transport nutrients, and keep your muscles firing efficiently. Get your hydration wrong and your performance will take a hit. Even mild dehydration, just a 2% drop in body weight from sweat, can seriously impact endurance, raise your heart rate, and make everything feel harder. It also affects your blood plasma volume, stroke volume, and cardiac output, while reducing blood flow to your muscles and brain. On top of that, dehydration can drive up your body temperature, increase glycogen use, and make the effort feel way tougher. But hydration isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. Your sweat rate, sodium loss, race duration, and even the weather all play a big role in how much fluid and electrolytes you need. So are you drinking too much or too little? Let's break it down. If you've ever felt unusually sluggish during a race, or you've had to slow down despite solid training, dehydration could be to blame. Some signs to watch out for include fatigue, dizziness, increased heart rate, muscle cramps, decreased sweat rate, but drinking too much can be just as bad. Overhydration or hyponatremia happens when you dilute your sodium levels by taking in too much fluid. This can lead to nausea, bloating, and in severe cases, even brain swelling. So how do you know if you're drinking the right amount? Well, first you need to figure out your sweat rate. And the good news is that you can do this easily at home for free. Here's how. Weigh yourself naked before your workout and also weigh any water bottles you're bringing. And then with your clothes back on, hopefully, do a 1 hour run or bike session drinking as you normally would. And then afterwards, weigh yourself again naked and measure how much water you've lost from your bottles as well, and factor that in. And then subtract your post-workout weight from your pre-workout weight. And that final number shows how much you sweated per hour. But keep in mind, this only applies to the conditions you tested in. If you ran in 18 degrees Celsius, your sweat rate will be much higher than if you ran in cooler conditions. So it's worth repeating this test in different temperatures and environments to get a better feel for how much you sweat under various conditions. Your hydration plan shouldn't just start when you begin training or racing. It should start hours before or even the day before, especially for long, hot or sweaty sessions. One approach, which is recommended by hydration experts Precision Fuel and Hydration, is something called a preload. And this means drinking 500 mils or 16 ounces of water mixed with a strong electrolyte drink. And they suggest using their 1500 milligram tablet to boost fluid retention. Then on race morning or before a big training session, aim for a 500 or 750 ml, which is 16 to 24 ounce, of a bottle of fluid with a strong electrolyte mix about 2 to 3 hours before your event or tough training session or race or whatever it is you're doing. So this extra sodium helps your body hold on to fluid, and some athletes find it also helps prevent cramping. It's also worth keeping an eye on caffeine and alcohol intake, as both of these increase your urine output, and that can leave you feeling more dehydrated as well. The amount you need to drink depends on a few key factors, which are how much you sweat, how salty your sweat is, the intensity, duration and conditions of your session or race. Hotter and harder efforts equal more fluid needed. And for sessions under 60 minutes, water is usually enough. If I feel like I need it, I'll add electrolytes to match my sweat sodium levels. For sessions over 60 minutes, I try to replace as much of my sweat loss as possible. For example, on the indoor bike trainer, I lose about 700 milliliters of fluid per hour, so I aim to drink all of that back. If it's a particularly intense session, I'll add electrolytes to my drink. And if it's a really tough session like intervals, I'll include an energy drink with both carbs and electrolytes to help me keep my performance up. So we've established that hydration isn't just about water and that you also need electrolytes. But what's the best drink to reach for? Water, electrolytes, or a general sports drink? Well, it depends. Water is great for short workouts, but it's not enough for longer sessions. Electrolyte drinks, which are just drinks with electrolytes in, but not necessarily sugar. Electrolyte drinks can help replace sodium and can help prevent cramping, but be sure to check the label because many only have around 200 milligrams of sodium per serving, which is likely to be far too low for most athletes. Sports drinks, on the other hand, provide both energy and hydration, making them a good all-in-one option, but they can be inflexible. If it's hot and you drink more, you'll take in a lot more carbs. If it's cold and you drink less, your carb intake could drop too much. You can also use electrolyte capsules or chews from companies like SaltStick to separate your hydration from your fueling. And this gives you more control, allowing you to take in electrolytes without having to drink excessive amounts of fluid or consume too many carbs. The key is to plan ahead and make sure you're hitting the right balance for your session and conditions. Get this right and you'll feel the difference in your performance. Mistake 1 would be drinking too much before a race. Chugging loads of water before the start might seem like a good idea, but it can leave you feeling bloated and running for the nearest toilet. Instead, sip smaller amounts in hours leading up to your race and add some sodium to help your body hold on to that fluid. Mistake 2 would be not replacing lost electrolytes. Drinking only water can dilute your sodium levels, which can lead to serious issues like hyponatremia. So to avoid that, make sure you're adding electrolytes, but don't just grab any random sports drink. Check the label to ensure you're getting enough sodium to match your sweat losses. Mistake 3 would be relying on thirst. If you're already feeling thirsty, it's often too late and you're already dehydrated. Instead of waiting for thirst to kick in, start drinking fluids early in your race or training sessions to stay ahead of the curve. Mistake 4 would be trying a new hydration strategy on race day. Race day is not the best time to experiment with hydration, so test different approaches in training so that you know what works for you. And don't just have a one-size-fits-all strategy, you need to adjust it based on the conditions. If it's hot, you'll need to drink more. If it's cold, you can drink less. Mistake 5 would be not training your gut for race day hydration. Your gut needs training just like your muscles. If you're not used to taking in fluids for hours in training, you can't expect your body to handle it smoothly on race day. So do practice drinking consistently during longer sessions to avoid stomach issues when it really counts. Mistake 6 is overcomplicating your hydration. At the end of the day, hydration doesn't have to be complicated. Test your sweat rate, use electrolytes, and drink at regular intervals. That's it. Don't stress about getting it perfect every time. Just practice and focus on what works best for you. Have you ever wondered if losing a few pounds could help you run faster or race better in a triathlon? So this is a question that comes up all the time. Will I be faster if I lose weight? Runners and triathletes are always looking for that extra edge, whether it's a 10K, marathon, or a full Ironman. And the truth is, yes, in many cases being lighter can help improve performance. But it's not that simple. Losing weight the wrong way can actually hurt your training, sap your energy, and lead to injuries. So today, I'll cover how weight affects running and triathlon performance, the risks of chasing a lower weight, and we'll cover some safe and smart ways to manage your weight if needed. And I'll also share my own personal experience where I ran a fast time at a weight that I thought was too high. Right, let's get into it. When you run, every step means lifting your own body weight. That's why being lighter can help. Some studies suggest that losing 5 to 10% of your body weight would make you 3 to 5% faster. I also read that every pound lost might save you 1.4 to 2.5 seconds per mile. That may not sound like a lot, but it does soon add up over longer distances. And over a marathon, that 1 pound lost could equate to around 50 seconds. When it comes to cycling, weight matters most when you're climbing. On hills, a lighter cyclist with the same power output will climb faster. But on flat terrain, weight is less important. Aerodynamics and raw power matter more here. And that's why some of the best time trialists and triathletes aren't necessarily the lightest athletes, but they're powerful. However, on hilly or mountainous routes, losing 10 pounds or 4.5 kilograms could improve your cycling efficiency by 7 to 10%. And the steeper the gradient, the more difference that weight makes. Whereas on less steep climbs, weight doesn't make such a significant difference. In the water, weight has very little impact. Buoyancy helps counteract extra pounds, and in some cases a little body fat can even help with warmth and flotation. For triathletes, focusing on swim technique and endurance will make a much bigger difference than worrying about weight. So we've talked about some of the performance benefits of losing weight. And does that mean you should just start cutting calories? Well, no, not so fast. There are real risks if you try to lose weight the wrong way. First is loss of power and muscle. If you lose weight too fast, you'll likely lose muscle too, which can make you slower, not faster. And then we should also consider low energy and poor training, because big calorie cuts can leave you tired and sluggish, and that means your workouts will suffer and you won't recover as well. There's also a higher injury risk if you're losing weight, and undereating weakens bones and muscles and can lead to stress fractures and overuse injuries. Plus there's also the possibility of mental stress and burnout. Obsessing over weight can take the joy out of training. If you're constantly hungry, moody, or thinking about food, that's not really a sustainable way to perform at your best. Losing weight is also subject to the law of diminishing returns. If you're already fairly lean, losing more weight might not help much, but it could cost you strength and endurance. Many athletes make the mistake of thinking lighter is always better, but that's not true. Your goal should be to find a weight where you feel strong, fast, and fueled, not just as light as possible. So I've personally experimented with this, and in past seasons I've tried to get down to my ideal race weight, thinking I'd be faster. And I did that by losing weight slowly and healthily, and I had some good races and some less good races. However, I often struggled to sleep through the night because I would wake up hungry. Plus my wife reckoned I was generally grumpier around the house. For the Valencia Marathon in 2024, I didn't focus on weight loss at all. In fact, I went into that race 7 pounds heavier than I usually would. And guess what? I ran a personal best. So maybe I'd have been faster if I'd have weighed less, or maybe I wouldn't, it's hard to say. But it felt good to have a strong performance, having not really thought at all about changing my body weight. If you do decide to lose weight, you need to do it the right way. Lose weight gradually. Aim for about half a kilogram or 1 pound per week or less of weight loss. And any faster than that and you're likely losing muscle, not just fat. You should also prioritize protein because this helps preserve muscle while losing fat. Eat plenty of lean protein at each meal. And you must also fuel your training. Don't cut calories from your pre or post-workout meals. Your workout should still feel strong and productive, and you need to recover well from them as well. And you should also avoid crash diets because extreme calorie cuts and fad diets will hurt you more than they help. Steady, sustainable changes work best. And you should also listen to your body. If you're feeling sluggish, weak, or constantly thinking about food, that's a sign you're under-fueling, so adjust accordingly. I would also recommend considering expert guidance. A sports dietitian can help if you're unsure about how to balance your weight loss with performance. So, should you lose weight for running or triathlon? That's the big question. Well, maybe, but only if you do it wisely. If you're carrying some extra weight that's not helping you, a small gradual reduction might improve your performance. But if you're already lean and trying to get even lighter, well, I would be careful because trading power for weight loss won't necessarily make you faster. Most importantly, listen to your body. The goal is to be healthy and strong and performing at your best, not just lighter. Remember that training, fueling, and staying injury-free will do more for your speed than chasing a number on the scale. I live in the UK where the winters are fairly cold and damp, and for a long time I struggled whenever I raced in hot weather. This year I've got Ironman 70.3 Mallorca and the Ironman 70.3 World Champs in Marbella, Spain, both on my calendar, and they're likely to be hot races. In the past, a race in the heat would have left me red-faced, drained and way off my target times. In 2023, I ran the Valencia Marathon on a day that hit about 20 degrees Celsius. Now, 20 degrees Celsius is not super hot by any means, but coming from the UK and a chilly autumn, it felt brutal to me on the day. I remember pouring water over my head at every aid station, desperately trying to cool down. I finished and had a decent run, but I didn't really go to my potential, and I wondered after that, how on earth am I going to handle Mallorca or Marbella in Spain if I can't even cope with 20 degrees Celsius? So that marathon experience was a bit of a wake-up call for me. And after it, I decided to make heat acclimation a key part of my training. I started using specific techniques to get my body used to the heat, and I'll share all of them with you in this video. So let's break down how heat acclimation can make you feel stronger and more comfortable in hot races, and the simple techniques you can start using right away. First off, what is heat acclimation and why should you even care? Well, heat acclimation is essentially training your body to better handle hot conditions. Instead of dreading that feeling of the sun beating down on you, you can actually make your body adapt so it keeps cool more efficiently. Here's how heat acclimation boosts your performance and comfort. So after adapting to heat, your heart doesn't have to work as hard for the same effort. This means you can maintain your pace with less strain. Also, you have a cooler core temperature. Your body learns to start cooling itself sooner. You'll start sweating earlier and more effectively, which keeps your core temperature lower during exercise. Essentially, you become a more efficient cooling machine. Also, you have increased blood plasma volume. So heat training causes your body to increase its blood plasma, and more blood plasma volume means better circulation and more effective delivery of oxygen to your muscles and better heat dissipation. It's like upgrading your cooling system and endurance at the same time. And also you have a higher sweat rate and more diluted sweat. So an acclimated athlete sweats more and earlier, but loses fewer electrolytes in that sweat. So your body fine-tunes your sweating so that you cool off without draining quite as much sodium, helping you avoid cramping in long races. And then also you have a lower perceived effort in heat. So all of these changes add up to you feeling better when it's hot. Instead of the heat overwhelming you, it becomes manageable. You stay mentally stronger because your body isn't screaming in distress. In fact, multiple studies report that improvements in heart rate, core, and skin temperature control and power output at threshold after adapting to the heat. The best part is that heat acclimation gains are sometimes called the poor man's altitude training. And that's because they can boost fitness in similar ways to training at high altitude. Both altitude and heat trigger your body to make more blood volume and improve cardiovascular efficiency. So heat training can give you a nice fitness bump, even for races in cooler weather, but it's absolutely essential for hot races. Research suggests it takes around 7 to 14 days of heat-focused training to get most of these adaptations. The first few days are the hardest, and you'll feel the heat stress the most at first. But by day 7, you'll notice it getting easier, and by 2 weeks, you're largely acclimated. These adaptations can start to fade if you stop heat training, so it's good to include a hot session every few days leading into your event once you're acclimated. So heat acclimation matters because it transforms heat from your enemy into something you're prepared for. It makes hot races feel more like normal races. So now let's talk about how you can actually practice heat acclimation, especially if you live in a cooler climate. So believe it or not, one of the best and most simple heat acclimation techniques is taking a warm bath after training. After your workout, instead of an ice bath, think hot bath. This is also known as hot water immersion, and it's a proven way to simulate training in high heat without actually being in a hot climate. Here's how to do it. After a run or a bike session, fill your bathtub with hot water, aiming for around 40 degrees Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit, which is pretty hot, or pretty warm anyway. Then soak in the bath for about 20 to 30 minutes, up to your neck if possible. It's not really very comfortable at first. In fact, the first time I tried it, my heart was still racing from the workout and I kept sweating in the tub. And I was honestly tempted to jump out after about 2 minutes. But I did stick with it, and over the next week I noticed that I was much more comfortable when training in warm weather. The science backs this up too. In one study, athletes who did a 40-minute run in moderate temperature, then soaked in a 40 Celsius bath for 40 minutes every day for 6 days, saw big improvements in their heat tolerance. After those 6 hot bath sessions, their core temperature while exercising was lower and they felt less exhausted in the heat. When they did a 5K time trial in 33 degree Celsius heat, they were 4.9% faster than before acclimating. That's nearly 5% better just from sitting in hot water after training. I personally found that warm baths can really help me, and after about a week of post-workout hot soaks, I did a long run on an unseasonably hot day and felt really strong, and it was like my body's thermostat had been recalibrated. So a couple of tips are to drink plenty, because warm baths can dehydrate you, so drink water beforehand and have a cool drink within reach. And if ever you feel lightheaded, get out of the bath slowly and carefully, and just think about safety first. In terms of frequency, for a big race in the heat, try doing this for 5 to 10 days in a row, ending about 3 or 4 days before your race. Even a shorter block of say 6 days can yield benefits. Warm baths are cheap and easy, assuming you have a tub, and if you don't have a bathtub, you can go to a sauna or even have a hot shower, but the idea is just to keep your body hot for a period after exercise. Which brings us to another technique. If you live in a cooler area, hello UK folks, or it's winter time, you might not have hot weather to train in, but no worries, you can fake it by overdressing for your workouts. This is one of those so simple it works tricks, wearing more layers than you need to trap heat and make your body work harder to cool down. I've done this a lot during my winter training because I prefer it to taking a hot bath, to be honest. For example, I'd go for a run in 5 degrees Celsius weather, which is pretty cold, wearing multiple layers, maybe a thermal base layer, a long sleeve shirt, a jacket, leggings, a hat, basically looking like I'm off to the Arctic. Within about 20 minutes, I'd feel like it's a midsummer day because of all the heat my body is holding on to. Wearing extra layers stimulates a warmer environment for your body. Your core temperature rises more than it normally would, and you start sweating sooner, and your heart pumps harder to dump heat. Over time, these responses become more efficient. It's a bit like turning your easy run into a mini heat training session, just by what you wear. But here are some practical ways to do this. Layer up on your runs, so put on an extra t-shirt or sweatshirt, maybe even a lightweight jacket and a beanie or a cap or whatever. You want to feel warm for the first part of your run, but not boiling hot. But then as you continue, you definitely will get hot. If you're on a bike trainer or treadmill, consider doing it with the fan turned off or the doors closed. It's sweaty, but it does work from a heat training perspective. And if possible, schedule some workouts at the warmest part of the day. Even in a mild climate, midday sun can give you a bit of heat exposure. So my coach's tip here would be to pay attention to hydration when you're layering up like this. You will sweat more, so make sure you drink more water before, during, and if it's a long session, after as well. And also watch out for any signs of overheating. If you feel uncomfortable, like dizzy or really feeling boiling hot, shed a layer or slow down. The goal is to stress your body just enough to adapt, not to end up with heat exhaustion. I personally only wear more layers during easy or steady workouts and never during hard interval workouts. While it's good to get heat acclimatized, you don't want to ruin your workouts by being too hot, so do strike the right balance. And by the way, if you're looking for more structured help with your training, I do offer affordable triathlon, duathlon cycling and running plans, all with coach support, and you can check them out at MyProCoach.net or the link is in the description. So far we've focused on getting your body used to heat over days and weeks. But now let's talk about something you can do on race day or right before a hot training session, and that's pre-cooling. This is the opposite of everything we've discussed so far. So instead of heating yourself up, you're actually cooling yourself down before you exercise. Why? Well, to give yourself a head start once you begin sweating it out. When you start a race already feeling cool, it takes longer for your core temperature to hit that critical high point where you start to suffer. Think of it as increasing your heat budget. You bank some coolness so that you can spend it during the race. Practical pre-cooling techniques that you can try. There's ice cold drinks or ice cold slushy drinks. So about 15 to 30 minutes before your workout or race, if you can drink something that's really cold, that can be a good idea. So my go-to would be a sports drink that I've kept in the freezer that's kind of got slush or ice in it. This cools you from the inside out. Studies have shown that athletes who drink ice slushies before and during exercise could go longer and faster in the heat than those who just had cold water. You could also try a cooling vest or a wet towel. So if you have access to a cooling vest, the kind with ice packs in it, wear it for 10 to 15 minutes before the start of a hot race. And if you don't have a vest like this, a simpler hack is to take a towel, soak it in ice water and drape it around your neck and shoulders. And that chills the blood going to your brain and core, which helps you feel cooler. You should also stay in the shade or air conditioning for as long as you can before a hot race, so don't warm up under the blazing sun until you have to. Find shade or even an air-conditioned space if available before the start. Some athletes stay in a cool car with the aircon on right up until the race starts or the race briefing and last call to the start line. The idea is to avoid raising your body heat prematurely. Keep in mind that pre-cooling won't last forever. You're essentially delaying the point at which heat becomes a problem. But even a delay of 10 to 20 minutes can be the difference between hitting the wall and hitting your goals. And don't worry, pre-cooling won't make you cold. You're not going to freeze your muscles or anything. It's just like a brief cooling down. In fact, it often just brings you to a comfortable baseline, especially if it's scorching outside. Just a word of caution though, if you overdo it by, say, chugging an enormous frozen drink, you might feel a bit of a brain freeze or slight stomach slosh, so practice in training to see what your stomach can handle. So the techniques that we've talked about so far will work for most athletes, but if you want to take it a step further or you have access to special facilities, there are more advanced methods to consider. So first up is sauna sessions, and this is a classic for elite endurance athletes. The idea is quite similar to the hot bath really, but you're using a dry sauna. For example, you might finish a hard workout and then hop into a sauna at around 80 or 90 Celsius for 15 to 30 minutes post-exercise. And you do this without rehydrating immediately to really force your body to adapt, and only do this if you're experienced and stay safe while you're doing it. A sauna session after training can boost plasma volume and heat tolerance significantly. In fact, one protocol suggests doing this on 10 consecutive days leading up to a race in the heat. The key is consistency and getting uncomfortably warm, but not to the point of danger. I personally don't always have sauna access, but I have used one after swimming and it definitely helped accelerate my heat adaptation. Just remember to rehydrate gradually over the next few hours after the sauna and replace the electrolytes you lost by sweating. You could also try a heat chamber or heat room for your training. Some sports science centres have climate-controlled rooms called heat chambers where you can do your workout in a simulated hot environment, say
30 degrees Celsius and 70% humidity, or whatever conditions you expect on race day. This is like next level because you're combining exercise with heat stress in a controlled way. If you're preparing for something like the Ironman World Champs in Kona or the Marathon des Sables, a heat chamber can be invaluable. For instance, you could do your bike sessions in the chamber to directly train in heat. The downside is that not everyone has access to such facilities and they can be expensive, but if you do, it's worth considering for a big race. Even a DIY approach like setting up your bike trainer in a small room with a heater or humidifier can mimic this. So if you do decide to try that, it's better to do it with easy workouts rather than hard interval workouts. The focus should be on the heat adaptation rather than overstressing your body by exercising too hard. With all advanced methods, the usual advice applies. Be careful and listen to your body. Heat stress is no joke. The goal is to stress your system enough to adapt, but you never want to push so far that you endanger your health. Always have water and electrolytes ready for after, and try to have someone nearby, or at least let someone know what you're doing. One more thing, you might be wondering, how do I know if it's working? Well, trust me, you'll know. Signs of successful heat acclimation include that you start sweating sooner in your workouts, your sweat becomes more watery and less salty, and your resting and exercise heart rate in heat will be slightly lower, and you'll just feel less miserable in hot conditions. But the key takeaways are that you should gradually expose yourself to heat in training through hot baths, overdressing, sauna, or however you can, and do it consistently in the weeks leading up to your race. Your body will respond by cooling itself more efficiently and pumping blood more effectively. Then when race day comes, use tricks like pre-cooling to give yourself that extra edge. And of course, always stay hydrated and use common sense. Heat acclimation is about smart training, not reckless training. And if you found this video helpful, you'll love the one on screen right now too. Or you can check out our Nutrition for Endurance Sports playlist for a longer watch. And let me know in the comments if you've tried heat acclimation and if it's worked for you. Good luck with your races, stay cool, and I'll catch you in the next one.